Georgia is front and center in the newest indictment against former President Donald Trump. Among the key elements, the president knowingly made false claims about dead voters and ballot counts in an effort to change the election outcome in our state.
We have team coverage for you tonight. 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn is digging to find out more about what this means for Fulton County's grand jury case. But we begin tonight with 11 Alive investigator Zach Merchant.
And we should point out that, Zach, you have been spending hours here combing through the indictment and talking to the parties mentioned in that 45-page document. All
right, so Zach, what are you learning here?
Well, you're right. We've been working through this document. You can see it right here. It's 45 full pages. We spent the evening working through this. And at the core of the government's case is the idea that the president had a right to speak, even falsely, about the election. But when he knew what he was saying was not true, and those comments were used to try to block the lawful transfer of power, they became illegal. Now, events in Georgia have played a prominent role in this indictment. Here's what prosecutors say was important. First, that Mr. Trump falsely claimed that more than 10,000 dead Georgians cast ballots. An 11 Alive investigation helped disprove that claim, showing some of those voters were alive and well. Also in the indictment, the now well-known phone call recording between former President Trump and Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Now, the indictment also discusses what prosecutors call false allegations made by Mr. Trump and his legal team about the way ballots were counted at State Farm Arena. Special counsel Jack Smith spoke to reporters in Washington earlier tonight.
Since the attack on our Capitol, the Department of Justice has remained committed to ensuring accountability for those criminally responsible for what happened that day.
It is a historic day for Georgia, but it's also important to remember that the burden of proof required to obtain an indictment is much lower than the burden of proof required to convict at trial. An indictment, in many ways, is just the beginning of the criminal process. The former president maintains his innocence, and today his campaign released a statement calling the indictment a political witch hunt.